Welcome to our channel. Please like and subscribe. Before we begin, forget what you think you know, because the Vietnam War was not simple. It wasn't just one country fighting another. It wasn't just about territory. It was a conflict layered with politics, ideology, history. And once you start to understand it, you realize why it became one of the most complicated wars in modern history. So today, we're going to break it down, step by step, clearly. Simply, let's begin. To understand the Vietnam War, we need to go back. Before the war even began, Vietnam was not always independent. For many years, it was controlled by France. This period is called colonial rule. The Vietnamese people wanted independence. And after World War II, that desire became stronger. A leader named Ho Chi Minh led a movement for freedom. But here's where things become complicated. Ho Chi Minh was not just a nationalist. He was also a communist. And at that time, the world was divided. After World War II, two superpowers emerged, the United States and the Soviet Union. They had very different ideologies. The United States supported capitalism. The Soviet Union supported communism. This created tension, known as the Cold War. Countries around the world were influenced by one side or the other, and Vietnam became one of those places. Vietnam was eventually divided into two parts: North Vietnam, led by Ho Chi Minh, communist; South Vietnam, supported by the United States, non-communist. The idea was temporary division, but elections to reunite the country never happened. Tension grew, and conflict began. The United States had a fear: if one country became communist, others would follow, like dominoes, falling one after another. This idea was called the domino theory. So the US decided to support South Vietnam to stop communism from spreading. At first, the US sent advisors, but as conflict intensified, they sent troops, thousands, then hundreds of thousands. The war became larger, more intense, and more difficult to control. This was not a traditional war. North Vietnamese forces and the Viet Cong used guerrilla tactics, ambushes, hidden tunnels, surprise attacks. They knew the terrain and used it to their advantage. This made the war extremely challenging for US forces. Back in the United States, something unexpected happened. People began to question the war. Images on television showed the reality, the violence, the cost. Protests grew. Public support declined. The war was no longer just overseas. It affected people at home. So why was the Vietnam War so complicated? Because it wasn't just one issue. It was a mix of colonial history, Cold War politics, ideological conflict, local resistance, different groups with different goals, fighting in the same place, and no clear path to resolution. Eventually, the United States began to withdraw troops. In 1975, Saigon fell, and Vietnam was reunified under communist control. The war ended, but its impact remained. The Vietnam War left lasting effects on Vietnam, on the United States, on soldiers, families, societies. It changed how wars were viewed, how governments made decisions, and how people questioned authority. The Vietnam War was not just a battle of armies. It was a clash of ideas, histories, and perspectives. And that's what made it so complex. Understanding it is not about memorizing dates. It's about seeing the bigger picture. How decisions, fears, and beliefs shape the world, and how sometimes the most complicated conflicts have no simple answers. That was excellent. Please like and subscribe for daily lessons. See you next time.